Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. XRP will never be obsolete. Well, I've got a little asterisk next to that one. But what got me talking about this was a conversation within the community about this new blockchain, which is being touted as a sidechain. I mean, it really is just an entirely separate blockchain, though, called Zahao, and it has a native cryptocurrency called XRP Plus. And this hasn't been launched yet. I'm assuming most of you have heard of this by now. I made a couple videos about this. But David Schwartz, he was asked to opine on an aspect of this, which I'm going to share with you, and I thought it was rather thoughtful. And it happens to be in line with some of the types of things that I'd been thinking along these lines, having to do with why does any cryptocurrency have any staying power? Why does Bitcoin, the least technologically advanced cryptocurrency in existence, why is that number one in market cap when it's the worst technologically, right? And there are reasons for this. And so when I say XRP will never be obsolete, the little asterisk there would be, as long as it continues to be useful. But like the fact that a blockchain can come along that's faster or offers, in a general sense, even more utility, that's a factor to consider. But what people don't sufficiently factor in frequently, in my estimation, is that standards matter. And cryptocurrencies being around for a long time, once they're in place, good luck supplanting them. That it's true. And so it's true for Bitcoin, and that can make it hard to take that number one spot in terms of market cap. It'll make it harder for XRP too, because Bitcoin is first. But XRP was among the first cryptocurrencies on the planet too, right? So given that XRP is among the first cryptocurrencies, it also has staying power. It's become effectively a standard, and for specific use cases and types of things. So it'll be hard to supplant that too, which is why, in terms of long-term viability, I'm not concerned. Certainly not about XRP. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so as far as Zahao, let me just mention this real quickly here, because although I went as in-depth as I possibly could have at this point, at this moment in time, having to do with Zahao, which is being created by a number of entities like cryptocurrency exchange GateHub, XRPL Labs, which of course Wietse Wind founded. There's Scott Chamberlain with Evernode. And these are some of the most reputable people in the entire XRP community. So I think everything's on the up and up. Why would that not be my starting point? But I still want to understand why this is beneficial to XRP and the XRP ledger, because I'm telling you, I read the 18-page white paper several days ago, and I talked about this more in depth in a separate video, but they really didn't even scratch the surface of why this new blockchain, Zahao, with the cryptocurrency XRP Plus, why that would be beneficial to XRP and the XRP ledger. And so I wrote to Scott Chamberlain, who I think is an incredibly sharp guy, source of wisdom, and I've highlighted him for various reasons in my videos in the past. But he's more in the know, and so I just want to understand what I want. What's the pitch? How is this good for the XRP community? That's what I want to know. How's it good for XRP holders? So it may, like, I'll assume that it is, because that's the premise, is that it's good, and I have nothing but trust and confidence in these people. But I want to know the truth. Like, I'm missing information, and I don't see it being discussed. So I wrote to him and I said, Scott, could you explain how Zahao will benefit XRP and the XRP ledger? I read the Zahao white paper several days ago and find it fascinating. I see how the technology could be useful. I see how Zahao could benefit from XRP, but my understanding is there is an underlying premise that Zahao will benefit XRP and the XRP ledger. I'm not disputing this premise or agreeing with it because I need more information. The white paper barely touched on the subject at all. If this has already been thoroughly explained elsewhere, feel free to share links to any threads or external sources I may have missed. Thanks for your perspective. I wish you and everyone else associated with the project success. And then I tagged Wietse Wind on that also. So that was hours ago, so there's no response yet. Hopefully I get something back from him, because I'm very curious, and maybe I missed a big conversation on why this is great for XRP and the XRP ledger. Maybe I'm just not in the know. That's possible, but I just haven't seen it. I haven't seen that discussed, and normally stuff that's that important, it would just pop up in my thread, or there'd be crypto media articles about it. I'm seeing nothing. So I just wanted to take a little proactive approach there and just say, okay, what's going on there? And Wietse Wind, in recent months, he had verbally, he'd publicly articulated his disappointment, I guess you might say, with the fact that the Hooks amendment for the XRP ledger had not gone forward for over 2 years, which would give the layer 1 of the XRP ledger smart contract functionality. And in a nutshell, and mind you, I'm not a tech guy. There are it's only a small percentage of people in our community that are actual developers out there, and so I'm not one of those people. I'm not a tech guy, but my understanding is that there would be, after reading through some stuff, that there would actually be some serious hiccups for, certainly cryptocurrency exchanges, and there are implications in terms of transactionally and like how it would affect the network, even if it's just in the short term while things are getting straightened out, because it does change the code. Like, it literally changes the layer 1 code for the XRP ledger. So there seem to be reasons that people were hesitant to change, but Weed Say Win wants this functionality, and he's worried about the XRP ledger becoming, as he put it, the Nokia of cryptocurrencies. Is that going to happen in XRP because there's not functionality there in terms of smart contracts? And I don't know if that's true or if it's not. I just see adoption continuing to increase for XRP. So today I'm not worried about it. If Weed Say's right, we'll see that develop over time, and then I talk about it. I don't see it today, but he could be right. I'll certainly see that point. But XRP is great for payments just in a general sense. And that's what David Schwartz always thought would be the case, right? From the beginning. They just thought loosely, they didn't know what XRP would be used for, but loosely they thought it would be good to be used for payments, and they were basically just trying to make a better version of Bitcoin. And so there was that comparison, and then there was also a comparison that Zahao was more like Apple. So again, XRP ledger more like Nokia, and Zahao, this new blockchain, more like Apple. Like the most valuable company on the entire damn planet. And so there's an XRP community member named Saul who wrote, "I wonder how David feels," referencing David Schwartz, "I wonder how David feels about the XRP ledger Nokia, Zahao, Apple analogy." And so somebody actually tagged David Schwartz in a response there. And then Saul also wrote, "David, would it be fair to apply your reply here to the analogy in the original post above?" And he's referencing a post from some time ago in which XRP community member Stefan Huber wrote, "Hey, David Schwartz, what do you feel when people like Jim Cramer on national television, CNBC, explain to the American public that you are the architect of a con and huge scam?" And so for those of you that didn't hear this, I talked about it at the time, which is laughable. Jim Cramer on CNBC, national television, said that XRP was a giant con. He literally said that on national television. And so David Schwartz, after being asked, "How do you feel about that?" he responded with, "I forgive them," and then shared this GIF which reads at the bottom, "For they know not what they do." And so Jim Cramer, obviously clueless. And that's true. And then David responded to that, though, because again, the question from Saul, "David, would it be fair to apply your reply here to the original analogy in the original post above?" And David did respond. And he wrote, so this is the latest, "I think that analogy is actually very perceptive. I remember in the early days of Bitcoin, everyone thought that no cryptocurrency could ever overtake Bitcoin because Bitcoin had first mover advantage and a technical advantage was impossible. The thinking was that any competitor would have to be open source. So if there were any better technology that a competitor had, Bitcoin could just adopt it. But of course, that's not really true." And so pause to think about the degree to which that is accurate. Bitcoin today, as I cited at the outset of the video, arguably the worst crypto on the planet, technologically speaking, because it was the first. And that's not just crapping all over Bitcoin. I'm fond of Bitcoin. I hold it. I understand that standards matter. I continue to hold it. And maybe Layer 2 fixes all of this and makes all the problems go away anyway. Yeah, that could happen too. But in terms of Bitcoin, people going in and changing the code, now Bitcoin's better. Well, then you're talking about a fork of Bitcoin. And then, if the world decided, okay, that forked version with the changed code is Bitcoin, then it just would be. And then the unchanged version would just be, what would you call it? You could call it Bitcoin Classic. Because something similar happened with ETH, for those of you that are unaware. The original Ethereum, there was a fork, and then the new version of Ethereum it took the name Ethereum, and that's the one we know today. And then the original Ethereum, after the fork, became known as Ethereum Classic. And because that's what the world decided. And if everybody on the world decided that, the fork was something else, they would have called it Ethereum Plus. And then the original Ethereum would be Ethereum rather than Ethereum Classic. So things are what people say they are. And those have implications because there's basically like a brand awareness, if you will, surrounding these things, including Bitcoin. But the idea that Bitcoin was just going to take that on, no, because people don't want to. And David expands upon this idea as to why it didn't happen. And so just understand as he's talking about this and how new competitors come in the space, it hasn't hurt Bitcoin. Just like new competitors, even if you consider Zahao and XRP Plus to be a competitor, if you do, I'm not saying it is, but if you do consider it to be a competitor, it's the same thing here. It doesn't take away from XRP's existing adoption, the people that have financial interest in it, and all the use cases it's solving today. It doesn't just go away. It's hard to supplant a standard. You need something that's orders of magnitude better than an existing technology to actually supplant it. It's very difficult. And then David continues. Ethereum adopted technology that was, at least in some important ways, better. But Bitcoin couldn't adopt those technologies. A lot of the value of Bitcoin was in people relying on it working the same over decades. So even though Bitcoin was not advanced technically nearly as much as many other blockchains have, it would be kind of silly to say that they've made Bitcoin obsolete. Bitcoin does what it always did, and there's a market for that. Newer blockchains that start smaller can be more agile and can develop and prove new technologies work with real money and without risking the stability of existing layer 1 chains. Existing chains can adopt new technologies, but often have good reasons not to. Most importantly, I think the idea that a new chain will detract from an old chain is an extremely unlikely thing to worry about. We should be working together to grow the pie rather than resenting something new that can grow the pie for everyone because it takes a slice. There you go. And so even if Zahao is taking a slice, cool. I'm actually down with that. So then the only remaining question in my mind is, would they be, and this is if that were, I'm not saying this is the case, just to be clear, I'm positing concepts. That's all I'm doing here. If that were the case, then the only question remaining would be, is it a good thing that Zahao and everyone associating with that would be basically taking advantage of the existing XRP ledger with their burn to mint to get more liquidity over there, taking advantage of the fact that there is an XRP community and the name of XRP and just building off of that. Is there any sort of issue? And I'm not saying that there is, but I am saying that would be, if that were the case, that would be the only question remaining. But if it's the case, and I'm hoping this is true, that this is mutually beneficial somehow for XRP and the XRP ledger, along with Zahao and XRP Plus, that would be fantastic. It's just, it hasn't been articulated. It's not in the white paper. I want to know why. That's why I asked Scott Chamberlain. Hopefully I get an answer from him or Wietse Wind or somebody. But no, I do operate, just to be clear, I believe they're operating in good faith. I'm just telling you what my brain's doing. And like, these are the types of questions that I think it makes sense to ask and the things to ponder. The questions themselves are not any indication that I think that something is going down like, in a shady way or anything to that effect here. But David Schwartz pretty well nailed it here, don't you think? And so that's why I don't worry. Like, even if Zahao is technologically more advanced than XRP and the XRP ledger, okay, cool. Because I mean, it's a fork of XRP and the XRP ledger. That's what Zahao is. It literally is. And I'll tell you what, you can't program real world adoption into that though. It's hard to start a new blockchain, and you sure as hell can't program liquidity into it. XRP has that. XRP is on all of the exchanges globally. So you can make it better, but it doesn't mean that XRP is obsolete or goes away and all the developers doing what they're doing on XRP and the XRP ledger, like, what's the incentive for them to switch? Why would they? They're pretty happy. It's hard. It's like that flywheel concept that we talked about in the past. It's hard to get something moving. And so once standards are in place, they're just in place unless there's a really, really, really good reason to change. So I feel good. That's why I said at the outset, like, XRP will never be obsolete. And then I said asterisk. You know, it would take a lot. It would really take a lot. Because this is how humans behave. Even if you would logically think, okay, it would make sense to just nix Bitcoin. Let's get rid of that. We don't need that Bitcoin crap. You know, it's the worst crypto out there, technologically speaking. Okay, but even if you believe that, the world disagrees, and that's what matters. The world disagrees with you then, if you believe that. Okay, so I'm just going with the world. Like, I'm just recognizing. I'm like, okay, that's cool. I hold my Bitcoin. I hold my XRP, and maybe one day, assuming Zahao launches, and it sounds like it really will, maybe I'll hold that one day. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say, all right? That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.